Shall we begin? Good afternoon. Welcome. This is Tuesday, May 9th, 2023, at 4:30 p.m. Meeting of the City of Urbana Arts and Culture Commission at City Hall, 400 South Vine Street, Urbana, Illinois, 61801. We need to have a call to order and roll call, please.
Yes. Barbara Headland.
Present.
Lori Fuller. Present. Alicia Rodriguez.
Present.
Thank you.
We are going to bypass the approval of minutes from the previous meeting because we don't have enough members here today, so we'll table that until the next meeting. And do we have any additions to the agenda today?
Not from us.
We have some visitors. One is, you're making a presentation, and you are too, so we don't have any public input unless someone wrote in? No? Okay, good. Moving right along. We're ready for presentations. Wonderful. So the first presenter today is Emily, pronounce your last name? Butt. For Teen Art School Murals. Welcome.
Yes, please. Let me know if you need help. It may be on the back.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm the Engagement and Instruction Coordinator for the Champaign-Urbana Community Fab Lab, and we received one of the Urbana Arts and Culture grants this past year to put murals in the middle and high school. So this program was actually proposed by a group of teens that we have been working with for now 3 to 4 years on teens art programming in Champaign-Urbana. So the goal of this program that they came to us with was, we want to be able to design our own murals to put in the schools, and we want to have support to do that. We want the murals to connect the middle school and the high school together so that 8th graders who then go into their freshman year of high school have something familiar or that they can look forward to. So the idea was a path going between these two schools. So they came to us with this crazy proposal idea, and we said, sure, we'll try. And so with that, we started with a summer workshop series. So this was last summer. We were generously hosted by the Urbana Free Library and had 6 students come together to design the murals that would be in both of the schools. We also had honorariums for 2 local professional artists to actually mentor them through this process, to go through how do you take this giant vague idea of a mural between 2 schools and turn it into something concrete. Of course, this all had to be done with the approval and feedback from the administration of the schools, so we had limitations. They agreed that they wanted it to be about the mottos of the 2 schools. So the murals had to tie together and tie those 2 mottos together as well. So in this one, they did ideation through Post-it notes and general feelings and ideas and things they thought were important to the school experience or to the mottos, or ways that they could visualize those concepts. And then they went into actually collaging them. So Kamau, which was one of our 2 mentors, is actually very focused in collage work. He's actually on some of the electrical boxes, actually out right near the Chinooks. So he came in and mentored them and taught them how he can do collaging, how they can do it digitally or physically, and help them build their ideas and get a full path through the 2 very long murals. And then Mookie came in, who is an illustrator and does comics and web comics and some short animations, and she helped them go from collage into sketching and line art. Once they'd done 2 days of intense arguing and ideating and developing these mural ideas, they presented them then to Rachel Lauren Storm, who was at the time the coordinator for Urbana Arts and Culture, as well as the administrations from the two schools, and got approval for them with some feedbacks and tweaks that they then had to do. Which that led us into the fall semester. So the way this worked is that we worked at the middle school the entire year, and we worked at the high school for the spring semester. We actually worked with the Splash After School program at the Urbana Middle School, where they transferred this design onto the walls using a grid method, having to measure things out, be very straight and precise, which is frustrating for them. And they sketched the design onto the walls, and then they began the base painting. So they did this over 4 weeks after school during that program. And then we also were partnered with the art classes in the middle school. So Janice Knight's art classes for 7th, 8th grade, and community arts all worked on painting this mural rotating through the week. So they would have about 6 or 7 students at a time out in the hallways painting on the mural with us and with their student teacher. And so that progressed all the way from the base colors all the way through final details and all of the nice things to do the line art in that. And so that's where we are right now. They are going to be protected over the summer just because we are not able to install the protection when there are children in the building, was the one caveat. So that's where they've gotten to at that one, but now we had to actually start the high school. So for this one, because of the location, and how many of you have been in the high school, seen the lockers? Yeah, okay. So you know most of the wall places are like above the lockers. The first thing we had was that it was very dangerous to consider putting teens on scaffolding painting above the lockers. That would not have been a smart idea. So we actually took their suggestions and did a panel method for this, which meant that these panels will actually be installed onto the walls there. And what worked really well for this is this meant that we didn't have to be locationed only inside of the high school for painting. So we were able to partner with 4 or 5 different community sites, classes, after school programs to actually paint and go around town to actually meet kids where they were after school. One of the ones we've been doing is the Teen Open Lab at the Urbana Free Library. So we are there Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we were painting there with the kids, letting them have open time to paint, sketch. They could choose which panels they wanted to work on. However, after a while, they actually started coming in on Thursdays when the Teen Open Lab is there, and we weren't there, and they would just pull out the panels and start working independently. They kind of knew what they were aiming for. They would send photos or whatever to us, be like, look, we did this thing while you were gone, which was really fun and great to see. We also worked with the Urbana Freedom Schools. So Joe Wiemelt was so kind to allow us to come in, and we did 2 programs with them, starting with a very blank board, and they did all the sketching, building up, changing the ideas of what they wanted in the mural a little bit through to painting. And you can see that was one of the in-progress shots with one of the kids in there. Very messy palette as they experimented to figure out how do you make skin tone. That's a challenge for a lot of students. Color theory was something we've had to teach many, many times over the past year. And then those are some more in progress and completed shots of the murals as they were a month ago or so. So you can see the bottom one is very early where they started. They would be doing light washes so they could still see the grids, they could still see the actual lines through it, and follow those lines for the actual painting and drawing. And then towards the end, they have the really nice opaque solid colors. For the high school, those students decided to not go and do heavy line art, where the middle school decided they wanted more actual lines and a more of a graphic novel type effect on it. So there are going to be some differences between them, but the general path actually follows all the way through one mural to the other. You saw there was a pathway going through the middle school. It picks up in this mural and then goes all the way through it as well. And then besides that, as we got an extension for this grant to work through May 22nd or something is our opening next week, we actually were able to have more open nights at the lab as well. So the Champaign-Urbana Community Fab Lab is actually on campus across from the ACES Library, and we were a venue for the Boneyard Arts Festival. And so our teens and the Teen Art Council had their own art there they were showing off, but they also had the panels out that any teen who came in could paint, and we actually got teens that had never been painting on these murals before, which was pretty surprising, seeing as we had over 80 students actually participating in this program. So we had over 80 was my I'm going to lower it as much as I can think, participating across 3 or 4 different classes, 4 after-school programs, and 1 summer workshop series. Most of our students didn't just show up once, paint, and leave. Most of them came for multiple weeks or multiple programs. We had a group of 5 to 17s who actually participated from the summer program all the way through to, well, the opening. which one or two of them will actually be speaking at the opening for the murals to talk about their experience with it. In our own experiences being in the middle school, specifically painting on that wall, despite the fact that, you know, we're there during passing period and all the kids are going crazy and running through the hall, we have a lot of students who stop by the murals to talk about them or talk about how they're excited to see it develop over time. They're impressed that people will paint on it for this long, that they like having the color in the hallways. And some of them have been saying, I can't wait now that when I go to high school, I'm going to look for the other one there. And some of them even go and be like, can we come in and paint on them? And so then their teachers have to give permission for them to come out, and we have allowed that. But institutionally for us, what this has also done is it's allowed us to improve our working relationships with the Urbana Free Library, the middle school, the high school, and the Freedom Schools. Post-COVID, we didn't do as much programming between all of us. We had started doing a lot more before COVID hit, but we hadn't had the chance to really do something long-standing with them, where we all had to coordinate, you know, who's where at what time, how can we do something that's beneficial to everyone. So this was something that was really enjoyable for us to all work together. And we are actually going to be working together on another grant this next year, as Joel from Urbana Free Library has these skateboard decks. So we are going to be one of the partners for that grant. And the final thing I have, if you would all like to join us, we were hoping to have the grand opening before this presentation. However, we do have to fit into the school schedule, and they said this day was the best. So we are going to be having an open house for the high school and middle school murals. The high school ones will be taken over to the middle school since they are on panels, so that people don't have to walk between the multiple places. It will be next Wednesday from 3 to 3:30 p.m. You are all welcome to come in person if you would like. It is generally a more closed invitational just because of the school having children in it still. There are safety concerns. So we do have a live stream as well if anyone wants to log in and see the teens talk about what they've done over this past year and show off their paintings. I have, if anyone had questions.
Repeat exactly where it is. It's going to be in the high school?
In the middle school.
In the
So
middle
we're
school.
taking the portable murals from the high school over to the middle school.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
It's a really wonderful project. I was wondering, do you know, are the schools interested in continuing to do more murals and fund it themselves, or are they relying on you to keep, you know, doing some murals?
So a lot of murals are now actually being done by the art teachers at the schools independently. We haven't had to fund that historically either. They were doing some murals beforehand. It was just not always being approved. I know that Janice Knight's class regularly does it whenever she has her community arts class, and they rotate through when they're displayed there. So I think they will continue. I'm not quite sure about the high school. We did have some more challenges getting into the high school this past year, just due to the administration changes / the teachers being very overburdened, the art teachers specifically being very overburdened this past year, which is nothing against them, but we told them we would make it easy so we were in their after-school sessions rather than during their in-class sessions.
Any interest in outdoor murals too? Because there's a lot of space out on the walls. There would be wonderful
We would
as
love
well.
to do outdoor murals. The main reason for interior was that it was easier to do when we knew that it would take a long time, because we knew that we would not be able to get any teens to necessarily, you know, spend days camped out doing a mural, and then we were worried about what happens with weather. What do? We don't want to end up taking over and having to paint it ourselves, because that's not in the spirit of the project. And especially middle schoolers have a relatively short attention span for things. As we have learned during the middle school one, we had 20 to 30 minutes of active painting time with each one before they would need to take a break and do something. The high schoolers would be they could do 3 hours straight and they're good, they get in the zone, but the middle schoolers were much shorter. So we would love to do outdoor murals. It was just not the ideal place for us to start doing it with.
You might have some safety concerns too, because of weather conditions
Yep.
and liability issues, so maybe it's,
Yeah.
well, you didn't.
Yeah, we had to be careful even with anything like getting up high. We had to be sure and double check, are they allowed to go on this stool for the walls and that? And had to get permission from the teachers that yes, these students are allowed to be on step stools, but no ladders, which we didn't use, so that worked.
That must have been a coordination extravaganza.
Yeah, it
I'll be polite.
Yeah, it was a lot of coordination, a lot of helping kids through frustration, and fear, because a lot of them, they will go up to you and be like, I'm going to ruin this. What if I make a mistake? What if I do something wrong? It's going to be here forever. And a lot of us being like, you know, we're going to do something terrible too. We're going to make mistakes. But that's one of the great things about this paint is that if you make something mistake, we can cover it up. We have primer. We can fix it, and we can go over it. Or maybe this isn't this part that you want to do. We can give you another section that you feel more comfortable with. So from kids who had like no experience whatsoever with painting, and they're like, I can only do big batches of flat colors, to ones who are like, I want to do only hair. We were able to actually help them and give them the portions that they felt more comfortable with. None of them like doing people, though.
Oops.
Did you find it was mainly art students who were participating or kids from all different interest groups?
So during the school day, it was often art students because those were the classes that we were collaborating with. During the after-school programs, it was across all interest groups. So Splash mostly did not have art students in it. We had only one who was mildly interested in art. However, they have now been working throughout the year. They came to the Urbana Free Library after that, have been working with us, and they've been doing more and more art since then, which is really cool. They actually brought their sketchbook and started, you know, talking to us about AI art and their opinions on it during Teen Open Lab, which was great. And then the high school ones that we've had are mostly ones who don't even take art classes at the high school. They like art, they just don't necessarily enjoy it in that context. So this was like their outlet to do it outside of school that they really enjoyed.
That's so cool.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Got all the receipts, so I don't want to.
While we're doing that, our next presenter is Mark Enslin from Bread and Puppet
Well, this one has our brand on
Presentation.
it, so you know where it goes.
Posters. My name's Mark Enslin, and I work with the School for Designing a Society, which is an independent, experimental, educational, and arts project. It's been in Urbana for the past 30 years. And among the things that we do is sponsor performances or hold performances. And in partnership with the Independent Media Center, who were contacted by the Bread and Puppet Theater saying, they were going on tour across the country, and one member of their ensemble had a family member who lived nearby. And so it put them in mind of, oh, let's see if there's a place we could perform in Champaign-Urbana. And so the Independent Media Center reached out to us to see if we might host this. And these days, it's a 50-year-old group, started in 1962 by sculptor Peter Schumann and Elke Schumann. They've been, in my youth, it was something that I saw on television. It was part of my growing up is thinking, oh yeah, that seems like a really cool thing, giant puppets. I've been to protests in different places where Bread and Puppet showed up with amazing, inspiring giant puppets. And so when I heard that they might come to Champaign-Urbana, I was really excited. There are, because of the age of the group and geographical distance, there are a lot of people these days who have not heard of them. We started this collaboration with a couple of other organizations who are interested in this. The township partnered with us. We approached Unit 1 Allen Hall at the university, and then trying to figure out what is the venue for this group. I have seen them in their farm in Vermont, where they have an amphitheater. And so I had this image in my mind of, yes, giant puppets outdoors and the audience sitting on a hill. And then we were racking our brains, where in Champaign-Urbana can this be done? or dearth of hills, et cetera.
Granite,
And so, pardon me?
Granite, maybe?
Well, the Granite came up,
outside?
there's that amphitheater, we were thinking that was a possibility. We considered the high school, maybe one of the fields, parking lot of Lincoln Square. And then we approached the Park District, and they had several locations that they proposed to us, and one of them was Cannonball Hill. And I had been to a performance there many years before, and had sort of forgotten about it, and it turned out to be perfect. It was just exactly right, and actually very similar to what Bread and Puppet does in their home place. And so it was kind of a skeleton crew of people working to bring the group and correspond with them about what could happen. We had talked about workshops, some at the university and some in town, talked about a parade and various other things, and mainly because of budget, but partially because of just time commitments. We focused it to the one performance with a pre-circus concert. So this is a circus that they tour with. There are no live animals, but there are puppet animals. And the program of the circus has been developing over a number of years. So they had some pieces of this that were from years past. So there was a piece that they had done about Oscar Romero in El Salvador and had a giant puppet of him. They had some story from farmers' issues in Wisconsin and dairy, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, the farmers around here don't talk about that so much, but still it was there. The process of advertising, you know, there was a poster that we distributed, and we did some fundraising, but the grant really made it helpful for us to be able to do this at all. They operate on kind of a shoestring, and they had 21 people that came that were touring with them. In the materials in the final report that I submitted, there are a couple of photos. There's a photo of that performance in Cannonball Hill, which shows that they tour with this school bus that's painted very brightly, and it includes the giant puppets and 21 people, plus another little van that they had. And so actually the whole event of their arriving, setting up, doing the performance, sticking around afterwards. They do serve bread with their performances that they bake along the way. And so there was fresh baked bread that they offered to everybody in the audience. And the township sponsored some of the people that they serve to come to the performance. That was where the idea of a parade came in, but it seemed to be too prohibitive to come from there all the way to Crystal Lake Park. But they provided tacos for, primarily for people that they had brought to the performance. There were people from the university. I had people come up to me and tell me, oh, you know what, Bread and Puppet is coming. So there was a significant word of mouth. Unit 1 put up some of the performers. I had the rest of them camping out in my house. But the main thing that I discovered in doing this with our group was how magical it is to do an outdoor performance with footlights at dusk. And the audience was, a number of people from the audience I saw as I was trying to help with people getting accessibility, was a number of neighbors would walk by and see this glowing, beautiful thing in the park and think, what is this? What is this? And so some of the audience were walk-ins who had not seen the advertising. It's an interesting neighborhood of people from a lot of different places and walks of life, multilingual, et cetera. And so I left blank the demographic information on our final report just because we weren't selling tickets and didn't have a very accurate way of representing. But just from my divided attention and looking, it seemed to be interesting cross-section of ages, locations, ethnicities, languages, economic categories. I knew of people who had come from Chicago to see the performance, so there was kind of a draw to it. And the spectacle of it was part of the message of the whole piece. They had a band. The band played a lot of music from all over the place. There was one person I knew whose parents were from Romania, and she actually showed them either a video she took on her phone or maybe it was live on her phone, and they said, "Oh, that song, that's a traditional Romanian song. We recognize that." So there was a lot of aspect of that, a lot of references that they pull in for this community-based, free performance in the park kind of thing. And so it was kind of an inspiration for our group in sense of what could be possible for other things that we sponsor in the future. We had been talking with the Park District in recent years about doing some events in Crystal Lake Park. One of the locations where we have our school is on Franklin Street that juts into Crystal Lake Park. So it was helpful for that relationship also to have this thing that I think was a success very much in terms of participation and the way it came about. From our discussions, the Park District had been, I don't know if the word is concerned, but with their attention to that area of the park and how can it serve people better. And this gave one kind of unexpected way that it could. And I see now that they're kind of developing that area further. Things that for next time of our doing something like this, I'm critical of the messaging that we had about accessibility. It was accessible. There were people in wheelchairs who were able to come in through the area. The Park District had supplied a porta potty and had some staffing to help with parking. Volunteers and some of their staff came to volunteer for it. But in the future, I would want to be better about that because some of my kind of last-minute correspondence with people was saying, "You didn't specify on this poster what the accessibility was like." And part of that was that I was still researching how accessible it was, like going there myself and trying to eyeball and see, is this area good enough? And it turned out to be, but it should be calmer and more deliberate. So that's one kind of self-criticism I have about that. And is there anything else I want to say about this? The lights were powered by a battery generator that someone donated or lent us. And so I was glad that we were not chugging exhaust into the air while doing that. That was one vision that I had. But there was this feeling of nervousness about how is this all going to come together, and the fact that it did still rings in my memory as a great thing that I think was an offer to Urbana and the area. Do you have any questions? Or?
I think it's wonderful. I was hoping to make it, but I was out of town, and I was like, I saw the Bread and Puppet many times in the past, and I was like, they're coming to Urbana. This is wonderful.
Right.
And then I couldn't make it, but I think it's great. I know it was the connection, I guess, is someone who lives in the area. Is it possible that they will come back in the future, or any kind of talk about that?
We haven't formally talked about that, but the channel is open. They do not tour all that often because it's a big deal. They were on a 3-month tour. And so seeing how they lived in my house, it was very well organized, but it was really, they had a procedure, they made their breakfast, and they're really camping out. And to do that for 3 months is quite something. So I don't know when the next time opportunity would be, but maybe in a few years, possibly. And yes, definitely, I would jump to help make that happen.
What other kind of programs do you think about presenting, or do you have a mission that you're guided by?
Our mission is to invite people to use imagination and the arts to help think about what would be the desirable society to live in. And in the processes of our school project, it's very open-ended in terms of what that might be, depending on who shows up and what kind of problems people are interested in. Sometimes we'll have a theme, like in 2019, we had something called the Cassandra Project that focused on climate change. And that involved a performance in a house theater, and doing these things we called climate cafes in the farmer's market, where we just, in a nice environment with refreshments, host people to talk. And so that, the mission has a little bit of an amorphous aspect to it, but also it's really to get people more involved in thinking in this way, that things can be different. And actually, they changed the title from when I first made the proposal. It was, I think, Resurrection was in the title, and now they call it the Apocalypse Defiance Circus. And the sense of being defiant to the doom feeling that can come from different aspects of problems that we face in our society, I resonated with and was glad to be promoting this.
Would you say that the performance was more of a musical or a play or a combination of both?
It's definitely theatrically oriented. There were set pieces. It was on the model of a circus. Some of them had a little bit of a plot. Some of them were choreographies. But there was a band that was playing throughout, so it was also very musical. But it had things like they had 6 people in life-size tiger costumes, 2 performers per tiger, and they did all the tricks that, live tigers at circuses with animals do. And in concept, it sounds a little hokey maybe, but in seeing it live, that is really amazing. That takes a lot of work to coordinate that. So some of it was choreography, kind of dancing, and to operate, be on tall stilts, or to have a 20-foot tall puppet with poetry along with that. It's part of but it's a multiple genre thing. And they had a concert before the actual circus part, which was just the band. They do offer workshops, and it just didn't work out for us to be able to host a workshop. We, even thought maybe a 2-day thing with a performance maybe near Allen Hall, and that just, ended up being a little too much. But maybe the next time around we can expand it more.
I just want to say I'm a huge fan of puppetry, and it sounds like that was a really great way of just displaying something at a large scale, like having it outside, dusk, lights. I can only imagine how awesome that was. And I'm just, I heard you say that this poster was made for advertisement. Was there like a Facebook event page? Is there an Instagram that was kind of sharing that information?
We had Facebook. We had PSAs on WFT, and there might have been some other kind of spots elsewhere. I'm not sure. Miriam Larson from the Independent Media Center did some of that. Again, I was feeling like, what is publicity these days? How to do that? And I felt kind of old-fashioned, like, taking me back to when I used to go around sticking posters everywhere. And I thought, well, I've got a poster. I'm going to stick it everywhere. And I took it to Parkland and, found out, oh, no, you got to go through channels now and not just stick things up. So.
Or they'll pull it down.
Yeah. So there were about 400 people that showed up. And I think the word of mouth was really, really what did it.
I think people in general just love puppets. Every time I do shows with puppets in schools, the kids just go crazy. There's just something magical about puppets.
Yeah, I'm a puppet maker also, and so we've done some programs in the schools where we do, performances with puppets, and I've done puppet making workshops as well. Thank you all for making it possible.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next presentation is for the CU Jazz Festival with Janelle Orcherton, and I say welcome back to a former commissioner. It's so nice to have you back.
Can everyone see it okay? Excellent. So I'm Janelle, and I'll be presenting for the Champaign-Urbana Jazz Festival. And the project that was funded was one portion of the whole event. So I'll sort of talk about both so you can see how it fits together. Oh, our logo didn't work out. It's kind of funky. But this is our mission statement. So it's included all the points here. Well, basically, we want to continue stimulating a sense of pride in our jazz community, promote the enjoyment and art of jazz music, and then showcase local, regional, and national artists, and really, pump up Urbana and Champaign as being a place to be, both to perform and play, and also to visit for that music as well. So some highlights from our festival. We had our jazz brunch, which happens on Sunday morning, which is pretty great. People can enjoy great food and really relaxing music. We had our opening night party at Crown It Uncorked. We collaborated a little bit with Allen Hall for a concert that evening at Allen Hall on the first night. We had a CD release show at the Rose Bowl. And as I mentioned, the project specifically for today was Mai Sugimoto, who was here for 2 days and also brought her own quartet. So here's some general photos of the whole festival. So here's the brunch. We had it at Neal Street Blues this year. This was our Crown It Uncorked. You can recognize the stage there. And this was the Eric Binder Trio, bringing back an alumni. And then he brought up Ron Bridgewater as a special guest, so that was a nice surprise. We got to see that. And then on the right here, this was a project called Job's Trials, which is a whole conversation in itself. The bass player Dan Loomis wrote a whole movement, a whole evening and event sort of, it's hard to say performance, but it's this beautiful work with singers and jazz performers, and that was one of our feature concerts as well. Mai Sugimoto is an alto saxophonist. You can see her kind of way in the back here. She's talking to this group of students. And the first presentation we had her do or be a part of was the Improvisers Exchange, which happens on campus. And we partnered with Jason Finkelman to be able to bring her to town and bring her quartet. So she worked with the students from Improvisers Exchange. This workshop is usually open to the public, but whenever there's guests, we get quite a few more people. And then the guest is, we work out what's going to work best for the guest to work with the students on. So we decided that some themes of improvisation would make sense, and then also speaking to her strengths, building musical continuity within that improvisation, and then sort of staying in the flow idea of how to build a musical space, a musical shape, but also create and maintain a musical community, which she's really great at. And I really like this picture here, everyone's sort of in rapt attention. This took place in Cranert at the rehearsal hall. So here she is again. You can see some people came to participate and perform. That was another part of this workshop, was people could come in and listen and watch, or also do some performing as well. So this is my really digging into the details. And one of the neat aspects that she did was she was discussing these ideas, and we actually turned the lights off. So she said, you have to really, really listen. We talk about listening all the time when we're making music in a group, especially when you're improvising, but this really, it really put it into practice. Here's a few of the performers in their groups. I'm going to test out these new ideas. And you can see this is a wide variety of instrumentation, which I really like, and it really gives a different what's the word? Sonority, yeah. Yeah, we're getting a lot of different sonorities. It's not just what you might normally expect or you wouldn't normally think about when you're thinking about a jazz improvisation workshop. And then on Saturday, she brought her quartet, and we got to hear them play in the afternoon. So this was presented as a collaboration with the Sudden Sound series, which takes place at the Crown Art Museum. And you can see here it's a unique group. We have our 2 alto saxophones, upright bass, and drums. So a unique, I would say, a pairing or grouping, and a really wonderful collaboration. So some promotions that we did, we made sure to get this in as many official publications, I guess, as you might say. So this was one of the pictures and of the postings, I guess, through the Illinois School of Music, and then also through Crown Art Museum. That went out to all their subscribers, and it was in their sort of the brochure, the flyer for all the upcoming events for the fall. It was also on the CU Jazz Festival website. So this is, of course, a static slide, but you can scroll up and down like usual, and then, sort of roll over it and the information would pop up. So we had both of her events there, Improvisers Exchange, and also the Saturday, My Sujimoto 4. Plus, we did lots of social media promo. Since it was part of the Jazz Festival, it was a nice way to tie in some people who might not normally go to a Sudden Sound concert, and vice versa. So we had a pretty good showing. And then, so you can see we have our event square, and then a lot of sharing back and forth. Mai Sujimoto was sharing it and tagging all her performers as well, which I thought was pretty fun. And then I think this is going to allow me to go to the website. Oh, maybe not. That's all right. So this was it was just a short little clip of the quartet playing of the 2 of them. It was mostly showing that we had 2 saxophones and a drummer, but then both saxophonists also had some hand percussion or like hand items. I wouldn't say percussion. They weren't playing bongos or anything, but pitched items. So there's like a little wood block. There was like a couple metallic things. They both had flutes and sort of, not pop bottles, but that sort of sound, like a pitched wind approximator, that sort of get that like whoo kind of sound. Yeah. So it was a neat way of really playing with tones, considering they didn't have a chordal instrument like a guitar or a piano. It was a unique experience to hear the 2 single line performers really create a full acoustic experience, and then really sticking in these interesting sounds on top of that. So we do have some of that on our website and also on her website. If you want to see it. So, you can see a couple pictures here. Some little egg shakery things and fun devices. But overall, we had about 70 concert attendees. This performance happens in an open space, so people are free to come and go as they like. So I would say we had 70 people who were there for the whole duration of the event, so some ebb and flow. And then we had about 22 class participants on the Friday at the Improvisers Exchange. So we want to thank you for your support of this event, especially for Mai Sujimoto. It was such a treat to get to bring her. She's been on my list to have come and play at the Jazz Festival for a while, so I'm so glad it finally worked out. And it was a great experience getting to collaborate with Jason also. The 2 of us have sort of Venn diagrams of musicians that we want to get. So when we can really support each other, it really works out well. We can cross-pollinate with audiences and with musicians too, which is really fun. So thanks to the commission for supporting that event. Do you have any questions?
On your agenda for the next festival?
Oh, for this year?
Uh-huh.
Well, as many things as I can do, ideally. We're working on a big band event this year, so more details for that coming out. And then some of our favorites, of course, the jazz brunch. We're always looking for community collaborators for venues and performers. So if anyone's listening or watching, feel free to send me an email, or if anyone wants to know more about it. Yeah. We're posting about it as much as we can.
I really appreciate it that you have, female jazz musicians. You know, that's often not the case. And I went to the one a couple weeks ago, the trumpet.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful, again, showcasing at least one
Yeah.
female jazz musician, and keep doing that.
Thank you.
It's
Well,
great.
and thank you for noticing. That's one of the sort of, I would say, points of pride for the Jazz Festival is every year it's important to us to have representation from all kinds of music and musicians, and having female musicians is one of those. So thank you.
Not to mention yourself as a
Right.
saxophonist.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm keenly aware. Thank you.
Janelle, what's the date of this year's event?
It'll be October 26th to 29. Thank you. And I'll be sure to send out some more promotional materials and surprise who's coming when I have them.
Oh, good.
Thanks.
Will the event this coming year also be at the Cranert?
Pardon?
Will the event also be at the Cranert?
I hope so, yeah. I have to confirm that with them. I would put as many things in Cranard as I could. So if you know anyone who wants to talk to me, that'd be great.
I would think Jason would be able to help you, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might try it.
Totally. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Well, unless there's anything else on this under grants presentations, we're ready for a staff report, right?
All right, good to see you all. I really love hearing the presentations. It kind of just shows and highlights what you all have been working on too in terms of last year in the cycle. I have lots more to share with you this month compared to last month, but I wanted to touch base on the One State Art Alliance conference that I got the opportunity to attend. It was April 23rd to 25th, so it was after we had met, but I just wanted to share that I was able to meet other art organizations from really, small towns of about 900 people all the way to organizations that were from the heart of Chicago. So it was a good reminder of how much passion there is for the arts in Illinois, and it was something that I thought would be worth sharing. But one of the cool things was I got to meet the Chicago Poet Laureate, which is the first Poet Laureate of Chicago. So that was something I thought I would share. But moving right along to arts grant updates, grant projects have begun already, and first payments for Tier 1 and Tier 2 have been mailed out and are on the way. So that's good news. Next, I wanted to just address 40 North partnership updates. Boneyard recap, that seems like ages ago, but it has come and gone, and it was very successful. That weekend was a great turnout after talking to Kelly about it, again with over 90 venues throughout the county. Besides Boneyard, there are some call for art submissions happening. So 40 North has announced the call for submissions for the Great Art Doors, in case anyone hasn't seen that already. This is a collaboration with the Spurlock Museum, Urbana Park District, Champaign Park District, Urbana Arts and Culture, and also 40 North. And this program is guided by the belief that public art has the ability to visually and intellectually activate outdoor spaces by reinforcing social connectivity, providing a sense of belonging, and sparking dialogue. So those installations will be located in Urbana and Champaign parks and community gardens. 11 artists will be selected, receiving $1,000 stipends each, and submissions are due May 15th, with installations beginning June 30th. So just something that is kind of up on the horizon. So sharing that call for submissions would be great, just to get more people submitting to that. Programming for Urbana Arts and Culture, so moving on from 40 North. So Sarah Buckman did just kind of let me know that in terms of Poet Laureate updates, her and Janelle are working on getting some programming started. I think they're going to be meeting up on that to get more things going on for Janelle. Young Artist Studio at Urbana Free Library is going to be soon announcing an upcoming one for July, and we're working on creating a calendar for that program. And for murals in Urbana, the update that I have for you is that lots has been done in terms of working towards that. The hunt for utility box murals has continued, and some have kind of been nailed down, some locations. But that's kind of a conversation on just how many we want to do and which ones exactly we want to kind of go towards. But that's something we can look forward to. And one of the last things I wanted to just share is that there is now an Urbana Arts and Culture newsletter that we can start seeing more information. It's something that I started maybe a couple weeks ago, and the newsletter is focusing on upcoming events, art highlights, and artist resources and call for art. So I think it's going to be a really good resource for sharing maybe specific topics, like, if there's a call for art and all the information you need to know. Just earlier this week, I shared the B2B grant because that is closing tomorrow. So just kind of to be a tool for people who want to see art, but also people who do art. So if someone wants to subscribe to that, they can visit the Urbana, Illinois website under the Arts and Culture drop-down menu. And besides that, I just have some upcoming events I wanted to share. The Lake House Candlelight Serenade is coming up Friday, May 19th, 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. And it's 21 and up. There's boat rides, patio seating. Tickets can be purchased in advance by calling the Park District, I believe. And it's a partnership between the City of Urbana Arts and Culture Program, the CU Symphony, and I believe Analog Wine Library is going to be contributing too. So I think it's going to be pretty fun. So if you get a chance to make it out there, I think it's going to be a cool one.
Add one
Absolutely.
point. The rain date is Saturday.
Yep.
In case
Okay.
we have rain like we did last year.
Yep. Yes.
It was fine for the quartet. We were able to go inside and play.
It looked cool
And it was-
also.
It was great acoustics, and it was air conditioned, so it worked out fine for anybody who was there. But Mother Nature had a different idea about having it outdoors, and it was a beautiful setting. They decorated it beautifully with lights, and it was a very romantic setting. But Mother Nature decided she was going to let loose of this in the skies. So this time we have a rain date planned for the Saturday night, just in case.
That's good. I think it's going to be really worth joining and attending. I have
I'll
just.
be there if you have any questions.
You'll be there. Okay. I'm definitely going to be
I'm
there.
performing.
Okay. Besides that event, I did just want to say that the Rose Bowl Jazz Jam is every Wednesday at 10 p.m. So it's a later event, but just in keeping that theme of music, that's something to kind of look forward to. And the outdoor patio is opened up. So for folks who, kind of don't want to be inside for performances, they can enjoy music outside. Jody Adams is having her photography exhibition at Analog also from May 5th to the 27th, and there is going to be a closing reception, I believe the 26th and the 27th. So if you are interested in photography or want to grab a glass of wine and check it out, I think it'll be a great exhibition. And that's all I have for everyone. Any questions or thoughts?
I do have a question about the Candlelight Serenade. If anyone has a special favorite song that you want to have played, please let me know. We haven't finalized the program yet, so,
I might
can.
send some.
but I like to, I owe Kelly White Beatles songs because she missed them last year and she wants them, so, but Rachel had special requests, so I'm making the same offer, just in case you have special, it's mostly romantic music, that's the theme, so.
So no rock and roll or
I didn't say that.
okay. Cool.
I mean, we won't have any drums, but some people have favorites.
Awesome. Yep.
Well, we try.
All right. Thank you.
Great, well, thank you so much. Is there any new business to report? No, good, okay. Do we need to have a motion for adjournment under these? Okay. We have a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
and someone to second.
Oh, second.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you all.